Hello, and we're back again for yet another installment of Perspectives on Expanded Consciousness. And I have here my lovely friend and as well mentor, Bridget Long. And I'm actually sort of in recovery mode this morning. I had a day-long retreat yesterday, and I was literally struggling to get up this morning. But I use one of my processes, and that's how I'm going to segue into that, which is the energy alignment method, really to get back into alignment. And I felt my energy was a bit sapped this morning, and I was in alignment, actually. It just was that my aura needed expanding.
Right.
And so what I do with the energy light method, it can be used for so many different things. It can be used for releasing anything that's keeping us out of alignment. It can also be used to expand our energy aura, which is our manifestation funnel, believe it or not. And then also it can be used to give us insight as to what is the best or most aligned decision or choice in our life. If we're sort of at crossroads at the moment, at this precise moment in time, then it will help guide us. But we have to get into alignment first, using the same technique, and then it will actually help us access our intuition or our divine self, rather than our ego self, because the ego self wants to always be right and is always judging. And that's surprising. And just before we went live, I said to Bridget, I had some healing going on yesterday in the retreat through this sound bath therapy, and it was my knees, and they were really pulsating with energy, and there was a heat coming out of them. And so Bridget, knowing all the resources that she has to tap into, so she picked up Louise Hay's book and said, what does problem knees tell us? So it's this idea that I'm perhaps a little bit inflexible, or not willing to sort of change my ways, or being a bit self-righteous. And yes, and I think there is, for me at the moment, I'm in a crossroads, and I really need to decide which way I'm going to go. And I think it's not to just be dependent on my past programming and my past ways of doing things, because I think that's really telling me that I need to be more open to change and be more flexible. And it's not a question of, am I ready for change? I have the confidence to change. It's whether I'm open to change. And I think that's a subtle difference, isn't it? Well, actually a big difference. And so coming back to the energy alignment, so I used it to feel more expanded this morning and feel more in my energy. And the reason why I wanted to share this process, so it uses, just to quickly explain for those who are not aware of this, it's an energy kinesiology tool or method, which really uses the body sway to interrogate what's going on in that energy, whatever layer that may be, our thoughts, thinking processes, our emotional sort of stance, where we are in terms of our emotion, and what it possibly could be connected with, whether it's this lifetime, what it's past energy, what's holding us back. And also it helps to frame it, so scale it in the sense of, so I'll explain now, because I've got a win to share. So my client shared with me last night. We've been working, I tried a breath. So some people use a somatic technique, using the breath to release any stuck fear or energy in their body and to localize it where it is. And so I tried that method first of all, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, let me just try the energy alignment method in its purity, just on its own, because I was trying to combine two processes the week before. So I did on the Thursday, and just to fully focus on the fear that she was having, that she was having some recurring nightmares about a trauma. And so we use the energy alignment method, and I've always entered that sort of relationship with a client really from a neutral stance. I'm just there to serve and to recognize what's going on, but not really push anything, no agenda. There's no other hidden thing behind me. And I really go with my intuition, and in terms of the wording that I choose and what feels right for that particular person. And so I did the release and the replace. So there's a type of release and replace with the energy light method. But it's sort of invoking the power of the word as well, which is God within us. And I couldn't believe it. She shared last night that, because the previous week she said, oh, it feels a little bit better. But I have still having these nightmares. But it's not as bad. It's not as intense. And then on Sunday, she shared, I've slept the last 3 nights, no problem, no nightmares. I couldn't believe it. So the 3 nights matches from the Thursday evening to that Sunday evening. So whether you want to say it's that, I mean, whether it's coincident or whether it's just bubbling up and, a cumulative effect, but I just couldn't, it just really reminded me. And I think I've really abandoned, I was drifting away from the energy line method. I was trying all these new different techniques. And I think it brought back home. And this is this idea maybe with the knees. I need to be more explorative in things that I do, and also trust more. And I think trust my instincts, trust my judgment, and trust this process. And I think when you do, and you've got to be open to doing new things. You've got to be open to new processes for them to work, because, a shut mind is actually literally, it's closing you off to all sorts of transformations. So, so for me, that was very powerful. And that's why I thought I'm going to share that, because originally I was going to share as a process gratitude. But gratitude is something intertwined with the energy light method, because I always affirm to something with deepest gratitude. And but gratitude is very much, people say, I've heard it said, gratitude is not really a feeling thing. I'm thinking, yes, it is a feeling thing, but you've really got to enter the emotion of it for it to be truly percolating through your energy, your fiber, your being, your very being. And for me, the best way to exercise gratitude is just so yesterday was a case in point, and in between the showers, we walked out of the bell tent, and we're on a farmland with the beautiful views over the South Wales valleys. And it's so green. And I'm thinking, yes, we've had a lot of rain, but isn't rain wonderful? Because look at that lush, verdant, grass and pasture land. And isn't it amazing? And then we looked at all the different flowers, and somebody was quite knowledgeable and saying, that's clover, that's yarrow, that's really good for this. She's telling us, and you pick it then. Wow. And there was a toadstool ring. So we were saying it's a fairy ring, whether I believe in that or not, but it's like, it's hallowed, don't step into it. And and then the farmer said, the owner said, there's bigger ones further over there, much bigger rings, huge rings. So, I think sacred is sacred, and it then brings us back to how sacred is our life, how sacred is this environment in which we live, and that really amplifies the gratitude. And that's why, for me, getting out in nature is such a key way of connecting to gratitude, because it reminds me that everything is abundant. Because if you sort of sit in your own home in a very narrow, shallow-minded way, just picking up, being absorbent of this negativity in the news or the gossip mongering of people, sometimes even in your own family, I'm afraid to say, they just pick up and regurgitate the news to you. And you're thinking, does that really help me? Does that lift my vibration? I'm thinking, no. So what does lift my vibration? It's just stepping out and disconnecting in a way from anything negative, and just keep affirming the positive in your life, and to find connections that really lift you up. That's why I love doing these shows with Bridget, because it does that for me, and I really look forward to our calls. So, hey, I'm going to pass over to Bridget, because that's the great point. What does Bridget want to share with our audience today in terms of her special processes?
I mean, first of all, I'd like to just circle back on a couple of things that you've said, because I've been taking some notes as you've been talking.
Yeah.
We're told that we've got to be like a little child, and that is kind of one of the quotes in The Game of Life is, I look with wonder at that which is before me. And to be in absolute wonderment. Now, actually, on a kind of a slight parallel, yesterday we didn't get out in nature, but it was the first full day I hadn't done meetings in about 3 months, right? So we've been, I wouldn't say I haven't been doing meetings all day, every day, but there's always been at least one every single day. So you have to kind of like, you're on. Anyway, so yesterday I was invited to go to an event, and then I was like, do you know what? I think I can actually say no to this. I'm going to spend the day at home and really enjoy my home. I'm going to just really enjoy my home. And, I love being at home. I love making it better and cleaning it, and all that's very therapeutic. So that's one thing. And then The second thing is that my daughter said, I'd like to go and get some flower pots. She loves to grow things. So we went to the local garden centre, and there's a whole section there with some incredible flowers, roses and others that I don't even know the names of. And we just stood there, the two of us, and then went, wow. I mean, these velvety deep red roses, and there was another one. I actually took a photo. It was bright purple with little white spots on it, and every leaf, every detail. And I was just like, how can you not believe in a higher power when you see this little tiny flower with all the intricate I mean, it was just so, we just stood there going, wow, and I think, that's a form of gratitude as well. It's just realizing, as you say, how kind of like how small we are in this tiny speck of greatness, and having that kind of respect and awe for and appreciation for being part of the co-creative and being a cooperative component in this co-creative process. And I think that's
it's
really
funny you should mention that, because somebody mentioned yesterday in the clip, when we're looking outside and we're foraging for things, is like, how nature supports some. So bigger trees support ailing trees, and then the mushrooms, help add nutrition into the roots of the trees, or they draw from. They really interconnect, and the same goes with the humans. We thrive on this planet when we respect it, when we work in harmony and co-creation, as you say, and it's when we destroy the balance, isn't it? When we just take rather than give, as well as receive.
So everything really pivots then on sort of like the practices. Now I'm not a healer like yourself, but I do have a lot of practices which enable me to, life is a constant recentering process. You've got to like really get in a way where you can be, it's I think it's in Lao Tzu Tung's book, The Power of Zen. Yes. And he talks about being on this kind of like laser edge moment, which is actually being in the present moment, because it's in the present moment where we are actually in our point of power. It's in where we're point of inspiration, and we're constantly dragged. The mind will want to drag us into what happened yesterday, last week, last year, whenever it was, or into the anxieties of what's going to happen in the future. What's going to when we feel guilt or resentment or hatred or anything, we're thinking about the past. And when we feel anxious or nervous or stressed, we're fearful about the future. That's basically what the whole is. So in the middle, that tiny little bit in the middle, is where we feel calm and joy and peace and gratitude and all the rest of it. So how are we going to keep recentering throughout the day when we were pulled back and forth by every single, by people, by circumstances, by events, by emails, by social media? We're pulled in all these different directions. How are we going to stay centered in the midst of this kind of chaos, really, if you like, all this busyness, right, which is probably a nicer word. So my favorite over and above everything is segment intending.
We had somebody on live last week, somebody I know. She's actually on at the moment, or was. She just I just showed the comment that she put in playfulness. So but she was intrigued by what you were sharing or intimating what you use. So she's very interested in learning this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's just back up a little bit. The first thing is we've got to get clear, intentional, deliberate about what we want and why we want it. Okay, because these practices and disciplines and new habits that we are going to install will only be a long-term commitment if we know what we want and why we want it, and then the habits will come on top of that. But until we get that clarity on what we want and why we want it, it doesn't have to be our entire life, but I always say to people, at least where you want to be in 1 year. Financially, physically, emotionally, i.e. with relationships, and spiritually, right? Get clear. Even if it takes a little bit of time, keep going back to it, tweak it, refine it. It's the most important thing that you'll ever do, is getting clarity on what you want and why you want it. Because when we have clarity, we feel ease. We're just like, okay, I've got clarity. I feel amazing, right? So yeah, that's the playfulness. I just came off a coaching call with someone. So we were talking about, you know, how we're going to start developing her business. And I said some of the process, I said we call it boring but rich, you know. And she's Russian, so I started singing "If I Was a Rich Man," you know, doing the top post song. And she looked at me and said, I was absolute nuts. And I was like, Julia, if we can't have fun doing this, you know, you're gonna like, this is gonna be way too boring, and I don't do boring. And she's like, okay, you know. So you know, it's got to be a game, is because at the end of the day, nobody's getting out of here alive, so we might as well have fun while we're here, right? So it needs to be fun. So we can turn these processes that are, yeah, we use the word discipline, we use the word good habits, we use that kind of thing, but it can also be fun. And I think that is what's going to keep us motivated, is having fun along the way. You know, this can all get very intense, and you hear a lot of teachers getting really, really, you know, instructors, I mean, they're all very talented and brilliant, but they forget about the fun bit. And I think that, you know, I've seen it over and over and over, working with thousands of women in the last 13 years. When you introduce fun, when you introduce laughter, when you introduce connectivity, the magic is just like, it's like you sprinkle magic dust over everything. So I do have this like kind of like, you know, innate sense of humor. Everything, you know, I will find a situation, you know, I will find things to laugh at them. You know, I think there's a great passage in The Greatest Salesman in the World. He says, I will laugh at the world. I will laugh at the world. And that's something that's really worth remembering. So segment intending. Okay. Clarity first. I know what I want and why I want it. All right. So what am I going to do with this day? Every day is a blank page. Every day is a fresh start. Every day is a new life. A new life, because we never come into the next day the same as what we were that we came in the day before. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally.
Every day is a process of new understandings, new perceptions, new growth, new expansion. You know, we are a new person every single day. So when you come back, just like, wow, I'm actually a new person than what I was yesterday. How cool is that? Let's have fun with this new person that I am today. Okay. So
approach, yeah, lovely.
Yeah. So that's the first thing. Now, just as a side note, what I'd be very interested is that I was listening to some, again, The Law of Attraction by Abraham Hicks in the last couple of days. So I recommended it to someone. I said, I will listen to it while you're listening to it, your end, so that I know where you are, and I will hear what you're hearing, and then we'll see if we can pick up some synchronicities. So you can tell me what's resonating with you, and I'll know how to coach you in that case. And one of the things that I've heard her say, or Abraham say time and time again, is that you came into this physical body to experience freedom and joy with a certain amount of contrast, which would give you clarity on what you wanted to create while you're here in this physical body. I was like, all right. And then I went through this process a couple of days ago, and I was sitting at my desk doing my journaling. I was like, wait a minute. Why don't I take myself back to the moment I literally popped into the world? What was my intention then, before I picked up all the crappity crap along my physical trail? Why did I come here? Why did I come into this physical body as a gorgeous little, all loving, all fun, all powerful baby? What was I before the adults got hold of me? Why don't I just look on all of that as gone, which is where you get the die before you die bit, right? Why don't I just and I go back to, what was I physically? What did I want to live when I came into this world as a physical being? Right? When my consciousness came into this physical being, this physical lump of flesh, what did I want to be? Wow. And the words just started to flow. Absolutely. You know, I wanted to have fun. I wanted to be powerful. I wanted to be a light in the world. I wanted to raise consciousness. I wanted to be free. I believed in myself. I loved myself. I mean, it was just unbelievably powerful, this process that I went through. You know, I was just like, oh my God, I'm amazing. I mean, right? Because Louise Hay says all the time, you got to love yourself. You're like, yeah, whatever. You know, I've got to love myself, right? But I tell you what, when we're born, we love ourselves big time. We even love our own feces, for God's sake. We think we're, you know, such an achievement, right? Hey, mother, hey, look what I've done. And like, go me, right? Everything's a trophy. And I tell you what, when we're not happy, babies will tell you. Right? So that was a really interesting, so that was like, okay. So now I'm getting more clarity. And I remember singing in the shower, clarity. Oh, I love clarity, right? So what happens then, segment intending? Well, that first started, actually, I spoke about it last time when I lost weight a few years ago, because I was doing this meditation visualization before every meal. So over and over, it says in all the Abraham books, you've got law of attraction, the law of deliberate creation, the law of allowing, and then segment intending, which is the glue which keeps it all together. Because your day, as we said, is busy, and we need to chunk it down and pre-pave these chunks to be into vibrational alignment before we start the next chunk of the day. Because we go rush from one thing to the other without even thinking about what our intention is in terms of energetically, or in terms even intellectually, right? So I started this process, that I already knew I knew how to do it, because I'd done the 3 times 21 day process before with the visualization, and the weight loss was, spectacular and marvelous and wonderful and not hard at all. No diet, no exercise. Yay. That's totally my deal. Just take me to the fastest and easiest route possible. I do not want to have to struggle this. And actually, I'm not here to struggle anyway. I'm here to have fun. Remember, that's why I came into the world. So I thought, right, I'm going to start by doing this 3 times a day. At least before I eat, I will stop. I will offer gratitude for what I'm about to eat, for my healthy body that's taken me this far and this long whilst I'm on this tour of this, this physical plane. And then I'll do my visualization. So I started doing that a couple of weeks ago, because I wanted to segment in 10, but I started off the day well, and then I was just forgetting about it. And, and then I'd go, oh my God, So then I added at the top of my to-do list every single morning, segment intending. So I've got the constant reminder, I want to segment intend. Then I wrote down, okay, so I've got another segment that I can identify, which is before I start doing a call like with you, okay, or doing a call with a coach, or doing a call. I do a 7 a.m. call for the team, and then I had a 10 a.m. and now you're 11 a.m. So how can I segment intend before those very clear segments? Very clear segments. So I wrote down, first, I sit and I focus into alignment with the energy that creates worlds. The process takes 2 minutes, right? I focus into alignment with the energy that creates worlds. Wow. That's where the shock and awe comes in again, right? We were saying back now, oh my God, oh no, I've got inside me, I've got the energy that creates worlds. Amazing. I spend 10 to 15 seconds visualizing the person I intend to become. Right? So I've done my visualization in the morning. I've done my miracle morning, my visualization, my affirmations, and my meditation, and my sport, and my journaling, right? Every morning, without fault, have done that for 12 years, right? Maybe missed 5 days in 12 years, okay? So I'm like, okay, so what about if I micro miracle mornings in little segments? So I visualize it for a few seconds, and then I give thanks for the accomplishment of what I visualized. Right? We all know this stuff, okay? Then I'll say, what is my intention energetically for the next 30 minutes or however it is long my meeting is going to be? What's my intention here in this segment? I want to be, and I wrote here with you, for example, I want to add value. I want to be able to draw on guidance from infinite intelligence, which will enable me to add the highest possible value. That was my intention. All right, that's good enough. And then trust, because the only thing I wrote down is that maybe tell how to sharpen the saw story. I might come to that in a minute. So first of all, it was to really get clear in that segment in that moment of time. It takes practice. But I heard in one of the clips of Abraham the other day that Esther Hicks does about 30 segment intending a day. I was like, okay, let's do 30. And I was like, okay, if I start with 5, then I can work up to 12, because it's a progressive realization, right? You're not going to start going from 0 to 30 and you start getting all stressed and putting too much stress and pressure on yourself. But clear segments, like before you eat and before you start a meeting, it's easy to do. It's easy to remember, and it's easy to apply, right? Yeah. Then I will have another segment. When I get up in the morning, I put my feet on the floor. A new segment is starting, right? I'm going to the bathroom. getting dressed, getting myself ready for my miracle morning, right? As a new segment, as soon as I put my feet on the floor, I will stop. I will say thank you. I will breathe. You know, I even say to myself, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out, because immediately it's like, got to do this, got to do this, got to do this, right? The mind is going like bonkers. Okay, breathe in, breathe out. And even if you're not breathing, if you say breathe in, breathe out, immediately after a while, you'll start breathing and breathing out. Who knew, right? Your word is your wand. And so then I'll center, right? Okay. Then I will go into making my glass of water, making my bed, brushing my teeth, right? So that's a segment. Then before I go on to my go and sit to do my meditation, I stop, I prepare what is my intention for my meditation. I'm going to connect with the energy that creates worlds, calm my mind. It's going to be wonderful. I'm going to meet and blend with my consciousness by calming my mind and enjoying by focusing on my breathing, right? So these segments start to become more and more apparent throughout the day. I promise you. And then, you know, you're going to hear the mind going crazy. In between all the segments, you are just going to be going, thank you, thank you, thank you, and affirmations, thank you, and affirmations, thank you, and affirmations, right? Thank you, and affirmations, because all this is going out to, you know, Joe Dispenza calls it the field, right?
Yeah.
Some call it God, some call it source, some call it soul, some call it inner being. He calls it the field, which actually is kind of like quite nice because it's scientific-y, right? People aren't out because they're not talking about God, right? He calls it the field. And I heard him say something really interesting in one of his little videos I was listening to the other day, because I listen to one every single morning while I'm eating my breakfast after I've done my intention. And he was saying that, he said something like, through affirmation and gratitude, things will collapse from the field. No, things will come from the field and collapse into the physical. I was like, yes! You know, because we know that everything that we want already exists in its vibrational form, and through gratitude and through affirmations, it collapses into the physical. That made so much sense to me, because it was almost like a scientific, which it is, it's a scientific explanation of how this stuff, there's nothing woo-woo in that, right? And that's where Joe Dispenza is really interesting, because he brings in that really strong, irrefutable scientific bias on you know, on energy and manifestation and the law of attraction and so on. And that's for me segment intended. So you will get through at the end of the day. Last but not least, I said to myself yesterday, because sometimes I get tired in the afternoons. I had this little thought popped in my mind, because of course that's what happens. Wouldn't it be nice if I always had boundless energy? Wouldn't it be nice? And the wouldn't it be nice if game is a really fun thing to do. And then I changed it to, what if I always had boundless energy? How much could I achieve? How exciting. What if I always had boundless. And I just like, because we have like a tired mindset sometimes, don't we, right? It's like, oh, this happens, so of course I'm tired. What if I always had boundless energy? What would my life look like? What would I be able to achieve? What would I be able to enjoy? And I was just like, blimey, if I had boundless energy, I wouldn't know what to do with myself, right? Just like, whoa, you know, and all this like totality of possibilities started coming to me as I was going through this, really, because yesterday, first time I haven't been on for months, I am going to make the most of this day, and I'm going to affirm the life out of it. Actually, I said something else instead of life.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to make the most of this day. I'm going to literally, and it was just so much fun, because all these new ideas were coming to me thanks to, you know, continually practicing my affirmations and gratitude throughout the day. So that combined with segment intending, oh my God, I tell you become literally within 30 days, you'll be invincible. Yeah. That's my favorite process.
I think it's important, the segment intending, because it really connects to the emotional core of who we are, you know, and what we desire for ourselves. Because just saying affirmations and gratitude can be very, very flat, can be very, very sort of, as you say, intellectual, boring. But then when you connect to the intention of it, and that the intention then being driven by a sense of playfulness and joy, and exploring, and again coming back to that childlike curiosity, the being the child again, in our lives, and embracing everything, and even not leaving any stone unturned, and just being, I wonder what this can do for me today, or what let's try this, and being open to experiment, I think, as well.
So
brilliant.
I think that just one refining comment that I would like to make: if at any time it feels burdensome, or we feel hurried, or negative emotion in any way by practicing all these things, stop.
Totally.
It's got to be done as long as you feel positive. And it might be that only one thing feels okay, and then there's nothing else that goes right for the rest of the day. And if it's that one thing, just at least when you start to gather your thoughts in the morning, say out loud, this is going to be a great day. Start there. When people haven't done any like mindset stuff, and they don't, they haven't developed the habits, I just says, just start by saying this is going to be a great day, and before you go to sleep, just say thank you
for this day.
If you could just top and tail with tiny little things, even if you don't mean it, say it anyway, because eventually through repetition, a belief is what? It's a thought you just keep thinking. And so by repetition and repetition and repetition, that thank you will become meaningful. Sometimes the affirmations, they don't feel meaningful, but sometimes you say thank you 50, 100, 150 times, you start feeling, actually, sure, I am really feeling thankful. I've got no idea why, but I am, right? So don't always look for the emotion. Just trust the process. Say it over and over again. If you do nothing else all day, just keep saying thank you, and the emotion will start to build. The emotion will build on the repetition of the words. But as soon as you start feeling negative emotion, or it feels like a burden, or if it feels constricting or whatever, it's not the right. Just say, okay, I'm willing to change. I am willing to change.
That's another good one. Affirmation.
And you touch your throat here.
I'm ready.
I'm willing to change. I'm willing to change. Don't know what I need to change, but I'm willing to change. Yay! Bring on the change, right? So that would be something that you can start doing, and that's a very powerful practice that Louise recommends. If you have no idea where to start and you don't know what to do, just be willing.
Yeah.
Just be willing, and don't worry, the universe will deliver you everything.
I was going to say, sometimes I just say, show me how this can happen for me. And it's like just being open to be shown the way forward. If you're really feeling stuck, and I sometimes ask, show me or guide me.
Just
like people look for signs.
I'll give up. I've got no idea how this is going to happen, whatsoever, and then
but you're opening your mind, your energy to,
honestly, sometimes giving up is it's the best thing to do. Just a very short anecdotal story. My daughter's been looking for an apartment in Manchester. She goes back to university in September. I mean, so much demand and very little supply, and she has a series of non-negotiable criteria.
Who would have guessed it?
She's like, okay, I'm willing to give on that. I'm willing to compromise on that. And it's just still nothing. She's trying. She's got all these alerts set up. She's doing her very, very best. Nothing. And then literally during the week, last week, she was just like, that's it. I give up. I'm just going to do all my courses online. I'm going to stay at home with mum, and I am not going back to uni because there's nothing here. I give up. Boom. 5 hours later, out comes the perfect apartment. Right price, right location, fabulous landlady, all booked and sorted.
Yeah. But then that goes back to the surrender bit, doesn't it? It's like
surrender.
Trying to force something to happen.
Yes. Yeah. So she's completely surrendered, and sometimes on problems or issues or challenges that are so prevalent in our consciousness, we can just literally ask for surrender. I'm just asking to surrender here. I pass it, casted the burden, cast the burden.
Lighten your burdens. This is in the Bible,
and my yoke is easy and my burden is light, or something. That's what Jesus said, isn't it, in the Bible? And Florence Scovel Shinn talks about casting the burden a lot in the Game of Life and how to play it. Cast the burden on the Christ within, and I go free. And literally, she was just like, okay, I'm in complete and utter acceptance. This is never going to happen. And boom. I mean, how many times do we look for something all over and over and over and over and over? Just like, I'm never going to find it. And 2 days later, there it is.
Yeah, oh, it's the same with trying to remember something, it's like we're chasing it and we're whirling it around in our head and then let it go and then poof, next moment
Yeah.
it's there in our awareness.
The path of least resistance.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I was teaching a bit of qigong yesterday and I'm thinking, just
Oh,
remember you're water. Just remember the flow of things. Water doesn't force it, it literally goes over or meanders around. It'll find always the most efficacious, easy route, and let's remember that with ourselves,
always. It's funny you should mention that, as I've just started training with a qigong master, who's actually a stuntman.
I remember you sharing with me, yeah.
Yeah,
Behind the scenes, yeah,
but we're on
yeah.
lesson 4 now, and I'm on the this week we'll be doing the 4th movement. I've learned the first 3, so I've been practicing like that. Who knew how hard it was going to be? Oh my God, I was just
Well, I think that's why my knees were sort of rebellious last night in Taekwondo, because I've been doing all this qigong and I'm thinking, oh, it does take its toll on the knees.
You know what? I mean, that they're like the pulling of the arrow with the
I
knee.
love that one. I was showing them that yesterday. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful movement, and the fountain.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this one where you go up and you come down. I mean, it's just, I'm loving it. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's a lovely, yeah.
Yeah, and the breathing. I'm doing the like everything, pull everything up, breathing, and pull everything out. Let everything down, breathing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the base lock, the anal lock.
The anal lock. Yeah, and I was thinking that's actually really good for women who,
It is. Yeah.
Yes, I was just like, wow, I never knew anything like this, And
well, actually, some of the women commented yesterday. She said, "Oh, we didn't realise how much the power of breath," and because I was sort of telling them the breath links with the movements, and then also the pulling up, and I said, "Yeah, it was a lot." Because they said it reminded them. Some of them do Pilates; it's similar. Some bits, in terms of the core strength.
Yeah. I just really love the philosophy behind it. One of the things he was explaining is that the movements, there's always 3 and there's always, 2 to the left and 1 to the right. And the reason is that the 2 to the left is for the universe and 1 to the right is for you, because the universe is bigger than it. And I was, oh my God, so nice, And he explained what this means. And I never knew what that meant, sort of why we did it, which is like, no, I'm going to protect you kind of thing. And so I love the philosophy behind it as well. It's been a really, really wonderful part of my expansion. I'm super, super grateful for that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, hopefully our lovely audience, whether you're watching this now currently live or you're going to watch the replay, we just really hope you gain some insight and inspiration and motivation even to start something new, a new process, new practice, and commit to yourself. Really just allow yourself the time for this inner, the space within to grow and expand your consciousness, your awareness of who you are, build that up, and don't forget to play, have fun, while you do everything. Everything has to be
absolutely. Maybe that is really the secret to the path of least resistance, is just
having fun. And that's why they say do something that you love rather than something that is a chore, because that's where you're in your highest joy and fun. And creation is easy then, because we are truly aligned and it's authentic for us. So thank you very much. Thank you, Bridget. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you so much, Esther. I can't believe we've done 5 already in the last
I know. Well, we got another one to come, so join us next week.
Indeed. Thank you so much. I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of the day and a fantastic week to you and anyone who's listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Bridget. Thank you.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.